Ebusiafo ya tenase ene ye tenase a oman Ghana mu nsem na mede ba besom na ende no ye finance minister yes yewura another Dr. Ato Forson ene no wako Parliament of Ghana President Mahama obedi akunya 2024 no ende any first budget or they call parliament na ende enyasem ketwa oman Ghana aye butu do media hwefo ne atiefo ye mfa nkamemo ye ba wura aye parliament house na de ekoso bia no ye de ababa be somo mesre wo se obe like obe share obe comment ede amaye enti ende 2025 budget presentation 2025 budget presentation ekoso and the March 11 2025 no ye ko parliament na de ho bia de ababa somo munimachi ni yenko
2% of GDP. The Speaker, with the road sector recording an arrest of 21 billion Ghana cedis. The Speaker, when I assumed office on the 23rd of January 2025, my office was inundated with requests for payment from many contractors and suppliers. To ascertain the total arrests and outstanding payment for all MDAs, the Ministry of Finance decided to formally request all MDAs on the 28th of January 2028 to submit information on all arrests and outstanding claims for validation. Subsequently, Mr. Speaker, the Ministry of Finance held a special hearing with the MDAs to validate the arrests that were submitted for payment. The response from the MDAs and the validation revealed that a staggering amount of 67.5 billion Ghana cedis is owed to government contractors and suppliers. Mr. Speaker, this consists of MDA's outstanding interim payment of invoices worth 49.2 billion and bank transfer advice at the Controller Accountant General worth 18.3 billion Ghana cedis. Mr. Speaker, this 67 billion excludes 1.73 billion US dollars owed to independent power producers. This 67 billion also excludes 68 billion Ghana cedis owned by Electricity Company of Ghana to contractors. Mr. Speaker, this 67 billion US dollars also exclude the 32 billion owned by the Ghana Cocoa Board to contractors. And Mr. Speaker, this 67.5 billion also excludes the 5.75 billion owned by the Ghana Road Fund to various contractors. Right, Honorable Speaker, the Bank of Ghana is also seeking an amount of 53 billion Ghana cedis as bailout to be able to address their negative equity challenge that they face. Mr. Speaker, as part of the measures to address these mounting accumulated arrests, we have commissioned an audit of these arrest payments and guarantee value for money before a penny will be paid. Mr. Speaker, before a penny will be paid, we'll commit to do that arrest. Right, Honorable Speaker, in addition to the 67.5 billion cedis in arrests, the validation process also revealed that MDAs have awarded contract to the tune of a minimum 194 billion Ghana cedis. Mr. Speaker, this amount represents 16.5% of GDP as at the end of 2024, with the road sector again alone accounting for 100 billion Ghana cedis. Mr. Speaker, most of these contractors and most of these contracts were awarded without commencement certificate and authorization. Mr. Speaker, this is in blatant violation of the Public Financial Management Act 921. Right, Honorable Speaker, let me now update you on our debt service obligations. Mr. Speaker, apart from the huge arrests and commitment, our fiscal situation is further complicated by huge bullet debt service and constrained fiscal financing options. Currently, Mr. Speaker, the government option to finance the budget is limited to only treasury bill market following the debt restructuring program. Moreover, the forthcoming debt service of both domestic and Eurobond debt obligation will have profound implication for fiscal sustainability and balance of payment. Right, Honorable Speaker, domestic debt service alone, programmed for the next 4 years, is 150.3 billion Ghana cedis. So, Speaker, simply put, the interest and principal payment that will be due for payment beginning now for the next 4 years is 150.3 billion Ghana cedis. This represents 11.6% of GDP in domestic debt service obligation alone. The Speaker, of this 150 billion Ghana cedis, 73.3% of this 150 billion Ghana cedis is due for payment in the year 2027 and 2028. Right, Honorable Speaker, 2027 alone, the domestic debt service that will be falling due will be 57.6 billion, and 2028 will be made to call upon to pay 52.5 billion Ghana cedis. So, Speaker, the debt service obligation of 2027 and 2028 are major harms. These harms are cancerous and pose significant risks to the economy of Ghana. But, Mr. Speaker, touch wood, we shall fix it. We shall fix it. Mr. Speaker, our debt service obligation of this financial year is equally burdensome with significant harms. February, we were called upon to pay 9.9 billion. July, we'll be paying 6.2 billion, and August, we'll be paying 10.1 billion, all this year. Right, Honorable Speaker, the fiscal challenges are further compounded by the significant short-term treasury bill that we also inherited. So, Speaker, these obligations, totaling about 111.1 billion Ghana cedis, requires rollover week in, week out, placing additional pressure on cash flows and liquidity requirements. Mr. Speaker, beyond the domestic maturities, Ghana faces significant external debt service obligations for the next 4 years. The next 4 years will be made to call upon to pay $8.7 billion representing 10.9% of GDP, with heavy concentration again in the year 2027 and 2028. Again, Mr. Speaker, 55% of this external debt service will be due in the year 2027 and 2028. Right, Honorable Speaker, in the year 2027, we'll be made to pay $2.5 billion, and 2028, we'll have to again pay $2.4 billion. Right, Honorable Speaker, it seems the debt restructuring undertaken by the previous administration was designed to make 2027 and 2028 debt repayment heavy, sadly. So, Speaker, I don't know how come we sat and allow that design to happen. So, Speaker, that is cancerous. But I can assure you, we will fix it. Mr. Speaker, in spite of all this upcoming domestic and external debt service obligation, no buffers were built to cushion this unprecedented debt service burden. Mr. Speaker, as of 7 January 2025, the debt service reserve account, the sinking fund in dollar, has a balance of $64,000. Mr. Speaker, when we were leaving office, we left behind $319 million in that same account. Mr. Speaker, the debt service reserve CD account had an amount of 143 million Ghana cedis. Right, Honorable Speaker, when we were leaving office, the balance was 430 million Ghana cedis. So, Speaker, I now move you to stalled project. So, Speaker, due to the bilateral creditors' debt restructuring that is ongoing, undertaken by previous administration, a staggering number of 55 projects have been halted. So, Speaker, this leaves a massive amount of $3 billion in undisbursed loans and about $300 million in outstanding interim payment certificates, IPCs. Some of these projects include the famous Ifia Kwanta Hospital, the Kejetia Market Phase 2, the Bolgatanga Boko Pomacrom Road, and the Tema Aflawa Road project. Delayed payment and demobilization from site could result in cost overruns of over $1.1 billion US. Right, Honorable Speaker, the IMF-supported program imposed an annual disbursement ceiling of $250 million for all bilateral loans that are being restructured. This constraint means that it will take a minimum of 12 years to complete all of this stored program. So, Speaker, unfortunately, as a result of the debt restructuring, all this stored program, working with the IMF will take a minimum of 12 years if we decide to go business as usual. We'll be engaging in the coming days to resolve this challenge. Speaker, I now take you to the famous energy sector fiscal risk. Mr. Speaker, the increase in energy